So, Claudia, I'm so excited we're doing this.
Uh,
We've had conversations in front of groups. We've had so many conversations in person. It seems a little silly to both of us that we are recording like this while I'm in
yeah,
downtown Boston and you are in a magical land known as New Hampshire, I'm assuming, where you live.
yes, I am.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. When you're getting ready for a conversation that feels important or that other people might want to hear later, like what is one aspect of like self preparation that you tend to lean into?
Well, one of the things I do, and I just did before we started this, was to take 3 deep breaths and ground and just calm my system down, like just get in sync, calm my body down, align my chakras, if people know what that means.
I love that.
Um,
And
just the whole energy system.
yeah, I have to check in with like a lot of like somatic body pieces for myself from like
Mm.
starting this late, which I knew you would be okay with because I needed to go charge my better AirPods. I knew that I would be in a coffee shop today because I'm in the middle of moving. I feel really comfortable in coffee shops, and that's partly because having distraction around me in combination with espresso, good lighting, and nice people and free Wi-Fi, like this is part of what makes my life feel doable. And like very conscious of confidentiality. So like I'll keep tipping this in case like somebody's arm is showing, like God forbid that arm be like some very private arm. And like I do I do all of these things as a result of who I am, someone who has worked with
Yeah.
very confidential situations, but also someone who knows what I myself need. I know that you and I have like so many ways in which our experiences overlap and so many ways in which they don't. Like, tell me about
Mhm.
like a way in which your life experience has made you the kind of person who not only has an MBA, but also is checking in with her chakra systems before an important conversation. I love that overlap. Tell me more about you.
Yeah. So, well, I've actually been a business coach since 2007. I started with a man named Chet Holmes, and he teamed up with Tony Robbins. So I was the Tony Robbins coach for a while. And it was just an eye-opening experience for me. I had been in business and direct mail for many years, and in that time I learned, politics, and then I worked for big companies and the politics got worse, and then I worked for smaller companies and it was so much more fun. But I got that experience. I got the sort of polarity of both of those. And so when I got into the business coaching, it was really fun to be able to now use my creativity to help business owners to grow their businesses. In the meantime, it got super busy. And a lot of times what would happen when I was coaching was I could tell that the business owner was having some issues with their personal side. But I couldn't really talk about that because their personal side was their personal side. And over the past 6-ish years, I got very deep into energy healing, Reiki, um, Akashic records, reading, just reading people's energy and really healing my own, having been through a lot of trauma over the past lot of years. Um, I, I, I'm so fortunate, so grateful that somebody found me who was doing energy healing, and I started doing the energy healing, and I just felt so much better about myself, so much more grounded, so much more coming back into me and then beyond. Like I'm so much more comfortable and love myself now than I ever did. And through that experience, I really want to, my goal is to help business owners to get to those levels as well, right? So that they feel comfortable in their own skins, they feel comfortable with challenges and whatnot, that they're going to overcome them, but overcome them with love, consideration, respect, empathy. And that way, it has a ripple effect on everybody. So, yes, want the business to grow. And this is where the business part is coming in because I focus on all of that. I'm both a big picture thinker and I can get down in the weeds. So it works pretty well for me in that sense. But then at the same time, having now had so much time to really reflect on my own journey and my own healing from some seriously uh, yeah, tough times, which everybody has tough times, right? And how do we reconcile those? And so I've learned how to reconcile them for myself. Never done. I don't ever say that I'm done, because I'm never, no, nobody's ever done. We're always growing no matter what. But this is why I like to intertwine the two, because I really feel like most people have struggle with themselves, not on the outside, not what they show to other people, but on the inside. And if I can help people, particularly business owners, to clear that on the inside, then imagine how much better their company is going to be, because it has that ripple effect through the whole company.
That's so beautiful. Let me ask you, like, I vividly remember us working together, kind of like a barter system. And I believe the year was 2017, or was it 2018?
Yeah, that sounds about right.
It was a
Yeah,
long time ago. Can I
yeah,
speak a little bit about some of my first impressions of you?
sure. Beautiful.
I just remember feeling like, wow, Claudia is smooth and loving and careful. Not like the careful, like the Guster song. I don't know if you know the Guster song, but careful can sometimes be like overly careful, like almost like if we were to stigmatize it, we could call it obsessive compulsive disorder, right? But that's not the kind of careful that you are. You're the careful of like gentle, loving attention to detail. And as someone who myself has that energy at times, like there was a breakup I went through many, many years ago in my 20s where I was accused of OCD just because I was washing all of my own dishes in the sink and like putting them back because the person who was supposed to be washing the dishes wasn't washing the dishes. And I found out years later there was a lot going on behind the scenes for that person. They weren't totally talking about. So, like, I can contextualize it from a distance and be like, okay, I understand. But also, for me, it was like, I just want clean dishes. And like, I can't deal with the fact that maybe we're going to have mice in this space soon. Like, I'm going to just like clean my dishes,
Yep.
do what I can, and like go back to my room quietly and like figure out like what are my next steps. and, and like what I love about someone who is meticulous in their attention to detail, but also like, you can name drop and talk about the cool connections you have, but it's not about name dropping or cool connections. You always want to make sure you do things in a way that is loving and true. Hence, like
Hmm.
going like I call this like pendulating, like you're like a grandfather or grandmother clock that's able to like go into business terminology. You probably know things about like Six Sigma that I would be like, oh my God, don't make me think about that kind of statistics. But you
Yeah.
also know how to like move yourself in the direction of totally new information for the sake of your own healing and for the sake of people you might work with who need a different vocabulary. Does that resonate? Like that was kind of
It does.
first impression of you. What do you remember about me?
Yeah, well, thank you for that. What I remember about you was actually it was my first introduction to like the Tibetan bowl and the Palo Santo. And I was like, wow, this feels really good. I just hadn't been exposed to that particular kind of uh, scene at that time. And so I thought, at first I thought, well, this is kind of cool. And then I was like, this is really different from what I'm used to. And then I was like, this is really cool, and really like I felt very gentle and very, I felt really safe with you. So there was an inherent trust. And you did definitely bring that about. Just very, very calm, very stable, right? And um, just very confident in your own abilities. And I was very
Mm,
respectful of that. And
thank
I will
you.
always remember it was a beautiful house, and we're in the middle of a living room with a Tibetan bowl in the middle, and the Palo Santo, burning and whatnot. Great smell. And I remember looking out the window and seeing this bird on the grass because I think it was summertime or something. And I was just like, yeah, that feels like this sort of freedom that's opening up as I'm here. So, and you brought that to my life, and I'm very grateful for that.
I love that. Now, I'm always curious. I'm like, I'm very into like the energies of different animals. Today, I'm wearing this elephant for my friend Stephanie Angelini, who gave me like this elephant shirt when I was coming out of like major trauma after being wrongfully held in a coercive mental health care stay that no one wanted me to be hurt. No one really understood what was going on at the time. I know now that
Yeah.
it was like a spiritual emergence. Some people talk about
Mm,
spiritual emergency. It was only an emergency because I ended up in the emergency room and like forced to stay awake for much longer than would have been helpful for my body and my spirit. However, in some way, I trust that like whatever happened there was, you've heard me say this word before, Claudia, like a traumatic, like whatever the trauma was, it was pointing me and others in a slightly or maybe drastically different direction because of like the confluence of circumstances that brought me there. And like when I think about the version of me that met you, I was fairly stable, starting to come off of like psychotropic medication that I had never wanted to be on. And I was
mhm.
finding myself again by getting back into sound because I've always been a music person. Do you
Great. Yeah.
remember? Yeah, and the elephant has been an important energy in my healing. It's like a deep remembering energy. And also, like, someday I'd love to go to India or Africa or both and meet actual elephants in their native habitat. I haven't gotten there yet. Eventually it'll happen. But, like, tell me,
Funny.
Claudia, do you remember what kind of bird it was that you noticed? Or did you just notice a bird?
No, it was a robin, and but for some reason I now remember it with more colors than just a robin, which is interesting. And
Oh,
there's just more red now in it, and yeah, so it's definitely a robin. But I just remember now with it, like there's sort of like a creative aspect to it now, and the grass was super green,
I love
beautiful.
that. That's amazing.
Yeah.
So the vividness of the greens, the red of the
Yes.
robin, like
Yeah.
vibrant colors are what you're remembering.
Hmm. Yes. Yeah.
I'm wondering, like, it's interesting that you remember specifically the Palo Santo because we I would burn incense if people liked that or like offer aromatherapy and essential oil to people.
Hmm.
This is partly because I understand that, and I've known it for a long time, that the olfactory sense is like the most primal and most associated with memory. And like for a lot of us, when we're feeling deep things, we don't necessarily need
Mm.
words or someone to tell us a thing to do. There's some kind of intrinsic
Yeah.
healing that has to do with soma, the body. And
Yes.
I allow, like, I generally start with like, just pick any olfactory stimulation that feels nice to you. Sometimes I'll say, it
Yeah.
feels yummy, especially if children are involved. Like, we can do an
Yeah.
exercise where we're like breathing in a yummy scent and it feels really good. What do you
Yeah.
think it was about Palo Santo that like, that's the scent you remember? Because I remember having like 12 different aromatherapy options in the room, but you remember that
Yeah,
scent.
yeah, I do remember that actually. I do remember you had some other things too. And I think you gave me a choice actually at some point in time because we had several meetings. But I just remember the first one I believe that there was Palo Santo, and that's just what comes to my mind. For me, Palo Santo now is different from then. So I'm trying to put myself back into then. It just felt like it just felt like things were just opening up and clearing. And now I know that Palo Santo is a clearing of the energies. So it's a very powerful um wood, basically.
Mm.
Uh, and I did feel that strongly. And again, I wasn't really into the spirituality at the time, like I'm more so into it now. I've had, years now of training and learning and constant lessons, which are beautiful, some great, some not so great, and that's life. So the Palo Santo just is, to me, sort of a sign of the beginning of that healing.
I love that. That feels like a confirmation to me that I want to go get like fresh Palo Santo for the space that I'm moving into right now because
Yeah.
I spoke with you recently, like right now, February 11th. This is the birthday not only of Stephanie, but of Nick Kranz, who's one of the best meditation creatures, teachers, and like just like loving embodiments of divine goofiness. I'll say goofiness because he's just as silly as me. He's a
Yeah.
generation older. He lives in Maine. Like at some point, Claudia, I hope you and every person on the planet get to meet Nick because he is both, a Buddhist trained meditation instructor, but also just like gentle, loving,
Yeah.
true, like you or myself, has like a bright eyed, aligned energy that is both
Mm.
embodied and meticulous, and also able to be accountable when called to task for like doing things that other people find confusing or inappropriate. Like I, as you know, I had a strange summer in Boston where like
Yeah.
I went through a lot of unusual experiences simply because I
Hmm.
was going through a breakup and having to try to
Hmm.
figure out a lot of life transitions simultaneously. A lot of people kind of read me wrong.
Hmm.
And I found that funny at first. And like, I was kind of working the angle of being like, musical theater, yoga, whatever. Like, I wasn't trying to make trouble or get in anyone's way, but
Hmm.
I recognized that at certain moments it ended up being confusing or like for me, actually physically dangerous. And I had to figure out ways of recalibrating. And all of that, some of these are stories that I've shared already on my podcast. But as I told you, I was in Brooklyn for my birthday and I chose in Brooklyn. The rage expression stops here. If I feel rage, if I have to express it, I'm doing it quietly with people that I trust outside of like saying bad things about people who had no intention to harm me. However, I'm still in this portal. I call this like a healing portal because I
Absolutely.
was getting out of my first stint of
Yeah.
mental health care, behavioral health care, which is a joke, frankly, in the Commonwealth of Massachusetts a lot of the time. It's something that does as much harm as good based on all of the qualitative data that I've gathered.
Yeah.
And
Right.
I'm not saying there's never, never, ever a case for it, but I spent the past decade of my life like trying to heal from what I experienced in that first incarceration, as I sometimes refer to it. And
Mm.
after getting out right before Valentine's Day, and then like doing an inpatient stay where I was like, already a yoga teacher. So I was like, sure, I can go to your inpatient, your IOP, your intensive outpatient program. Fun. I was like the star of the show there, really. And then I ended up like briefly back in school, realizing people were watching me so closely that I could no longer be an imaginative, loving music teacher. I could no longer
Mm.
play games. I also
Mm.
was like very, very hyper aware of the ways in which the medication I was on were making me twitch, making me like see things that weren't really there, shadows, hear sounds. Like for sensitive beings, psychotropic medication can create the problems that they sometimes fix in others. And I
Makes
will,
sense.
around Easter of this year, get to the traumaversary of like the second
Hmm.
intensive inpatient coercive stay. And like
Yeah.
there's some kind of ritual that I'll be doing at some point in the next couple months that I don't even totally know what it is yet. All I know is that like connecting the people who care about me and understand from magic from their own angle, like hearing their wisdom, I'll always
Yeah.
take something away. Like right now, I'm like, okay, you need to get some Palo Santo. Like that's one thing I know will be part of ritual because it is like a clearing thing, right? And there's
Yeah.
some old things that need to be cleared for me right now. So
Yeah.
now that I've gone on about that. What feels important to you to talk about next?
Well, just a comment on where you're at, because I've been there too, right? And it's very traumatic at first, very overwhelming, and it took me several years. So it's not something that is easy. It's a grief process, and I felt kind of like you in a, I'm not going to get into any details, but more in a tunnel. And that tunnel could get very wide and it was a dark tunnel,
Mm.
or it could get narrow. But
Huh.
then I could see also light at the end of that tunnel. And if I moved myself towards the end of that tunnel, and I was still in the tunnel, but if I moved it forward at the end of that tunnel, that then opened up into this beautiful, beautiful, almost African landscape, which was really fun. And I was like, all right, well,
Wow.
I just need to get through this part, and that's okay. Whatever time, whatever it takes to get through this, I will get through it. And once I got more to the other side, I would say that I was so grateful for having the people around me who came around me, because I was in a very different space than I was prior to the tunnel, and then even in the tunnel. But in the tunnel, I had all these beautiful people around me helping me through this process as well. And I see that for you too. And
Thank
you
you.
reach out to people too, which is
I
beautiful.
do. Thank
Yeah.
you. I've told a lot of people who care about me this, like recently, like especially over the holidays, because the holidays are also my birthday and like a time that brings up a lot for a lot of people. Like I was so bored over the holidays this year, but also in so much physical pain. I hadn't yet gotten like care for like a lot of like things that happened to me over the past year. And like it was hard to go through Thanksgiving and Christmas, my birthday, a dog dying, like
Mm,
seeing
yeah.
people but not feeling seen.
Hmm.
Um, it was hard to
Yeah.
like metabolize so much rage while also like trying to move, like, lying in one nice mattress that I paid a lot of money for, but not having the money yet to get like
Mm,
anything to raise it up. Like really truly like hobbling around and
mm,
taking long hot showers multiple times a day. And then like, putting on some makeup and hanging out in a coffee shop and like feeling like I talked way too much to
mm.
strangers about my trauma just because I like needed to process, but also like
Yes,
I'm somebody
absolutely.
who like doesn't do well like just sitting at home alone all the time. And like it
Right.
was interesting the ways in which like the tunnel of the holidays, which brings up stuff for everybody. Like I felt in such resonant energy with like the cosmos and like the time on the planet when
Mm,
so many people are panicked, whether it's about, their long-term investments or about like whether or not they'll survive the next few days of cold in Massachusetts
absolutely.
or
Yeah.
actual danger of like gunfire in Massachusetts or anywhere in the world where there's
Yeah.
this very real danger, right?
Mm,
At all
yeah.
times that something horrible might happen. And this is part of the reason, like, when I am going through something that feels like hell, it is the language of metaphor that is probably
Mm,
most helpful to me. You saying, like, the tunnel in and out, like, I'm like, okay, you're bringing me back to how so often in my darkest times, I always know there's a light. And sometimes the light is not yet apparent, like how far away it is, right?
yeah.
Have you ever done that thing where you like hold your breath for the length of a tunnel, like when you're driving?
Not specifically, but no.
Okay.
No, I
Okay.
can, but I keep do keep my focus on the end of the tunnel and the light.
Yeah, yeah.
So that's
I
kind of
love that.
interesting.
Well, what I love about that is like I'm a singer, right? And I've been trained with breath
Mm,
since I was very, very young. And
yeah.
when I trained, when I went through a major life shift around the age of 26, 27, um,
Hmm.
I was like very intensely in my yoga practice. And I started using like breath practices, pranayama, very frequently to regulate my emotions and to like help me like discern next steps because I got to a point that felt very precarious for a lot of
Yeah.
reasons. I realized after the fact, and it took me months, maybe a couple of years to realize this, that I had been overdoing it on the breath work. That like my
Oh.
intensity of breath practice was probably counterindicated, if you want to use a fancy word. It wasn't helping me. I
Yeah.
was like making myself
Yeah.
more anxious because someone who already knows how to breathe because of a lot of breath training, doing extra breath was
Hmm.
probably revving me up in a way that was too much. Now, let me ask you from your angle,
Mm.
and I love just like the idea of like, just like keep an eye on the light, right? I was the kid who like always wanted to beat my brothers if we were like doing a
Yeah.
road trip. Like I am the true singer. I am the one who can hold my breath, right? But like with like competitiveness around breath beside, like how do you know what is too much in a given moment in your life? Like how do you discern that energetically? Because you're a few years older than me, and I see you as wise from many angles that are maybe a little more introverted, a little less focused on, singing.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, definitely. Yeah. But I still love music. I love music, and I listen to it, and it runs in my mind all the time. So let's see, an answer to your question. So now I had an answer to your question, and how do I calm myself down? So there are times where I get overwhelmed, mostly actually in the during the holidays. So November, December is a very difficult time. And at that time I get so much more emotional, and I'm watching myself through this too, because everything is a lesson, right? Everything is a lesson. And I start to now look at it as look back on it sort of as a film. Like, okay, so here's what happened. Here's what I went through. Here are the emotions I was going through. Here's what triggered me. Here's who triggered me. Things like that. And then look at that as, and then look at that firstly with compassion, because we're all human after all, right? We all have feelings. We all feel all kinds of feelings. And so even in other times when somebody has say triggered me or so, and I get say upset or whatever, I now have learned, instead of to shut it down, to move through it. So to just keep moving through it, let myself feel it, let myself move through it. And one of the things that I've experienced over the years is that what used to take me like days, weeks, sometimes months to get through, now will take me maybe hours or minutes to get through. So I can move through it pretty quickly. The December thing I'm still working on. See what happens this coming year. I don't know. It hit
I
me
love
hard this
that.
past year. But at the same time, I remember telling a friend of mine, I said, you wait, what's that? So I would remember telling a friend of mine, just wait, I will shift in January. You will see, I will be different in January. And January came around. I went through a little bit of whatever I went through, this intensity. And then all of a sudden I got like a download and was like, oh, and then everything just came together. I shifted, and my confidence and my balance came back in my energies. And I think I really surprised some people as well, because I can have that. So I look at everything as a learning experience. If I look at it that way, I get less traumatized by what I'm going through, because it's not necessarily personal, and there are always lessons to be learned. So it becomes a little bit more objective, And it doesn't mean it's less painful in certain aspects, certainly, the ones that, most painful. Um, but I'm able to look at them more objectively, and so it becomes more like, oh, all right, well, what lesson am I learning now? And moving through that.
That's so powerful. One of the things that I love about what you said, it made me think of your same talking about a tunnel. And I often think of like an aperture because I have so many friends who are professional photographers. I'm not a professional, but I know how to
Yeah.
take a good selfie because my friend Ashley taught me in our 20s, right? And she's in Philly now. I would always rather have, Wide Eyed
Yeah.
Studios of Philadelphia photograph me. But like a lot of people around here are good photographers too. And, and what I
Yeah.
love
Oh,
about
totally.
people who understand photography is that they're always looking for light, right? Like you said.
Mm,
And what I
yeah.
love about people who understand shifting of energies is they can use a metaphor and put it in other places. So, like when you talk about something that used to take me a while to work through, I can do quickly. That's one of the
Yeah.
magic things about music. Like when I like have to sing a song that I'm like, I don't know if I'm like feeling it on this song anymore. Like an old aria that like I've taught 12,000 times, or like,
Hmm.
I don't know, the Star Spangled Banner. Like I can do a thing in my brain where I'm audiating, that's just the fancy musical term, where I'm internally hearing the sound of it. I'm like, because I at one point had memorized all four verses of the Star Spangled Banner, I'm like, I would like us to just sing like, maybe the third and fourth verse for the next few years. Because like the song isn't so much about the flag as it is about war and like
Yeah.
creating something beautiful and new. And like the story of the creation
Hmm.
of the flag is a phenomenal story of women and humans coming together to build beauty out of chaos and
Yeah.
madness and bloodshed. So like if you want to sing the Star Spangled
Right.
Banner, I want to hear on the shore dimly seen through the mist of the deep, where the foe's haughty host in dread silence reposes. Like that's my American song right now, right? Or maybe like
Right.
any of the other
Yeah.
beautiful songs from like the Black National Anthem, Lift Every Voice and Sing, to like Lupe Fiasco, to my friend slash, I mean, acquaintance, Nadia Washington, who's local. I want to hear Tommaso Gambini, my jazz guitarist friend from here. I want to hear Whitney Houston. Like, I want to hear the
Yeah.
voices that cry out for freedom, right? Like, oh, I want to hear Queen Herbie.
Yeah.
Queen Herbie has a song about Palo Santo. She's out of New England, and I have a friend who's friends with her. Like, and
Cool.
it's not about name dropping, right? I want to hear the voices of people
Yeah.
who will bring in truth at a way that says, please,
Yeah.
this is not about choosing a side. This is about love, attention, and
Absolutely.
it will
Yes.
always come down to our poetry, our sensitivity, our willingness to heal a little differently. Like, I think
Hmm.
you've heard me say this already, Claudia. We have been in the year of the snake in the Chinese zodiac. And my friend
Right.
Miley Cannon, and growing up in Hawaii, she now lives, I believe, in Beijing still, unless she recently moved. And she taught me about the Chinese zodiac when I was a child. I didn't know that much about my sign in astrology. I was far more interested in
Mm.
what Miley had to teach me. And she taught me that we were both monkeys. And I know now that we are metal monkeys. Clever and maybe a little sharp sometimes. I don't know.
Yeah.
But I'm a metal monkey. Do you know what your sign is in the Chinese zodiac?
Oh my gosh. I just looked this up. I can't remember off the top of my head. It'll
That's
come to
okay.
me, I'm sure.
It'll come to you, and you don't have to know.
Yeah.
What is important for the species is to remember that on the 17th, here stateside, at least in Boston, of this month, so 6 days from now, it will be Chinese New Year, and we are entering the year
Yeah.
of the fire horse. Oh. So wherever you are, make sure you remember that horses know how to stamp out a snake. And if there has been some snaky energy in you, there's nothing wrong with a snake. We love the people who are snakes. They know how to move in sneaky, beautiful ways. We love the energy because it's powerful and it is
Yeah.
like root chakra, like awakening energy, right? but
Hmm.
sometimes snakes are poisonous and dangerous. And
Yeah.
I know my prayer for our planet and for you, me, and everyone who's been in major transition is that this coming year of the fire force will be in beautiful consonance with like the energy of my friend Wen, who owns a local Chinese restaurant in Cambridge. And you don't have to know
Nice.
because he is a horse. Like he was born in the year of the horse himself. Like I have some of his
Wow.
beautiful notes written in like Mandarin
Interesting.
caricatures. I also
Yeah.
met some recent people from China who were visiting Boston who like wrote
Oh,
something about
beautiful.
luck in like
Oh,
their
nice.
Chinese characters. And then I have another friend who wrote friendship in Arabic. And my friend Ahmad wrote my name in Arabic. And right here
Oh.
in the middle is the writing of my friend Greg, who you know, not super well, but just a little bit, Greg Warwick. And he wrote
Mm.
in Swedish the words for I love you. Now, a lot of
Oh.
people are thinking about Valentine's Day right now. That's fine. I've said, it's not
Yeah.
Valentine's Day or Galentine's Day. This is my Palentine's Day because I have a lot of friends
Love it.
and like I am upvoting the energy of being a loving, gentle person, no matter who and where you are. Okay. So
Yeah.
from one gal who is valiant to another, like what is it that makes someone a pal, a friend, a love?
Yeah.
I don't mean like a love interest sexually necessarily, but like someone who is a loyal friend for life for you, Claudia Esser Brown. Like how do you define like love in like the long term? It doesn't have to be romantic love. Like what does it look like for you?
I agree. Yeah. For me, love really means being able to have each other's backs no matter what. And when I say that, what I mean is that there's a certain trust that's built in, right? And
Mhm.
so you can go through the difficult times, but you come out of it. So I'll give you a couple examples. I had a roommate and we got along great for like 3 years. We got along great. And then one time we just had a bit of a falling out. Things came to a crescendo and I was so worried that, oh my gosh, if we have a fight, that, now we'll not be friends anymore. So, because we were friends as well, we were going through the same kind of training, spiritual training. So we had a lot to talk about. But we came to a point where it just, we just had a blowout. And so we talked it out, which was great. For me, it was great. We talked it out. We ended it, resolved, and then we went on. And we're still great friends. And she's been a great friend to me because I can be and this was groundbreaking for me because in my past I'd had a lot of people who would just ghost me or let me go, and then it'd be like, I thought we were friends. Where are you? Like I'd be there, but they wouldn't be, right? And that still happens
Mhm.
now. And so now I've learned also to leave some space with those I get close to, and leave some space, leave a bit of distance because some of that, it may be me trying to be too friendly with them, right? Or want to be
Mhm.
friends with them, right? And so there's that energy of, so I watch everything that I do too. So I leave that space and then I see, okay, where do they fit in that space? Do they just go away? Do they fall off? Do they come back? Maybe they'll come back another time, but I don't take it as personally anymore. I think this past January was really awesome for me. I just came through this space of I don't I don't need to have people be my friends if they don't want to be. I'm okay with that. No, and if they want to be, and they, there are some people who are very close to me, and I'm very, very grateful for that. Because we can go through the distance and the closeness and the distance and the closeness and whatever. Maybe we have a little blurb here and there, all good because it still continues on. So there's that trust
Mhm.
factor that builds over time
Mhm.
too.
Mhm.
And and there's that feeling of safety as well in a friend,
Mhm.
a feeling of so a true friend is somebody I feel very safe with expressing myself.
Mhm.
Um, and so I don't have that many friends because I guess my expectations are high or my criteria are high. Um, but also I've been burned very deeply on people I trusted in the past. And so I think, part of it is protecting my own heart and soul.
Yeah, yeah. You're making me think of so many wonderful musicians who like in their songs talk about like you need a few friends. You don't need all of the friends. And
Right.
this is always a good reminder for me. I'm someone who has like worked with large groups of people for a long period of time. And at some point, I hope to make a video like this with my friend Abby Frost, who is one of the most phenomenal choral conductors I know. I know quite a few phenomenal choral conductors. That's the nature of, being trained to be a choral conductor. And all of them have a different flavor. These, I think, a couple years older than me, but we have like this a similar energy. I just kind of gave up on being a choral conductor because I had other things that I wanted to do,
Sure.
and I
Great.
became like a Montessorian. I like was still conduct like I've been a little bit more of a like dive bomb switch change artist than Abby. Abby's like stayed in that track of what she and I talk about is like if you're a choral conductor, you have to be listening for a lots of layers of sound. Like if something is going out of tune, it's your job to hear which part is starting it,
Yeah.
not just what
Yeah.
part is most annoying. Like a lot of
Yes.
times, it's going to be like the soprano ones who take the
Yep.
hit because they're so screechy up there. But often the problem is from a middle part not quite finding their part. And the sopranos are trying to like create all this space, do all this technique, or just like let it flare through their nostrils. I mean, there's a lot of technique in singing, but there's also a lot of like people overthinking technique in singing. And what there is for sure in choral conducting is a great amount of ear training that is not just it's not just about the ears, it's about a heart energy, and people don't
Absolutely.
make it for the long term in any profession or in any space
Yeah.
unless the sensitivity of the space and of the people is in concert with the sensitivity of the person who is there to offer. I wonder if you could define from your perspective the MBA, the person who actually knows more about the Akashic records than I do, but someone who I have a lot of like heart, energy, respect for. In this time of transition for yourself, because I think of you as someone who's like feeling the whole, not just you personally.
Yeah.
What is one simple question that might serve some of the people who are questing, who are like trying to figure something out for themselves?
Yeah. Great question. Um, there's this thing called the spiritual night of the soul, which a lot of people go through, and it's really, so there are a few things here that come to mind. If they can go through that mostly painful process, and with the thought process of this is a painful process that is going to bring you into a whole different realm of learning to
Mhm.
love yourself. And it all begins with the self, learning to love yourself. And that begins in the heart, in the soul, and acceptance and compassion and forgiveness for yourself first, in order for that then to expand to other people. Um, I'm doing this breath exercise actually recently that I learned from somebody, I can't remember who it is, Spirit Science, the guy from
Okay.
Spirit Science. I just happened to be listening to something he said. It was short. And in this there's the mind and the body, right? And a lot of people think in the mind because that's how we're taught in society is everything is brain work, brain work, brain work. But the body is there are many parts of the body, and they each have their own brains. There's the heart brain, the heart brain, the gut brain, right? They're
Yes.
different brains in
Mm-hmm.
our body.
Mm-hmm.
And so when you start to encompass both of those together, and they synchronize, right? And when you can start to lean more into the body, then the body starts to come alive, and those brain parts start to synchronize and come alive. And this is what I've gone through in this particular process. Um, for me, it's going into the heart. Just something that came to mind when you were talking about that is I used to do some sales. And in the sales process, I had a script and I would be talking to people. And these are very high end sales, by the way, like 20, 30 grand. So I would be talking to the person and I'd be following the script. And at first it was miserable. I was like, oh, I can't, trying to learn the script and da da da. And then at one point, I connected with somebody and I realized, oh, I have a heart connection with this person. And if I connect me with my heart and that my heart with that person's heart,
Uh-huh.
right? Then all of a sudden, this magic opens up. All of a sudden, this trust opens up, and it's a beautiful experience. So I would deliberately do that every single time because I wanted to have that connection. That's what I trust, that heart, that compassion connection. So that it wasn't just me selling something, it was actually me moving something to them, offering something to them, which would be good for them. And they had to feel that. So how do they feel that? They have to trust the person who's doing the offering.
I love
And
that.
so my sales started to really go high because
That's
I was feeling
beautiful.
them. What's in it for
Mhm.
them? Not
Yeah.
me. It wasn't just
Yeah.
about me. It's about what's
Yeah.
in it for them.
I love that you're able to articulate coming into the heart space from a professional
Mm.
standpoint because I learned a lot over the past year about some of the ways in which I present that I was just unaware of. Like, I was not fully conscious of the fact that people sometimes find me flirtatious in times when I'm just intending to be friendly and have a conversation. And I, I mean, in one sense, that was just like data gathering. Okay, cool, right? But also, like, if I put my foot on a radiator in a cafe in Boston, I'm not trying to flirt with the camera or like the people around me in the cafe. I'm like glancing
Yeah.
away from the screen sometimes because my glasses don't fully take away from the tension headache I get when I look at a screen, right? I'm putting my knee up
Mm.
because I can feel that I need to be on a squishier seat soon. Like I'm in a little bit of physical discomfort. And me, like, even
Yeah.
like playing with
Yeah.
my hair, which people see as a sign of like cutesy flirtation, is me like gently reminding myself, you have a body and you're going to get to be off of this call soon. And what I know
Mm.
from going through a lot of physical trauma, as well as learning ways like breath work to work it, like to work with the trauma rather than against it, is like do the little things. This is what I tell myself. Do the little things. Like right now, I can play with this necklace because you and I had a conversation before we started this, right? And said, if we play
Yeah.
with our necklaces, that's our implicit cue to each other
Yeah.
that, we both have a necklace, we
Mm.
can start playing. And that means it's almost time to wrap up. But I would, and
Yeah.
I don't need to wrap up for another 2 to 3 minutes, but this is perfect because we wanted to get done a little before noon, right? And I think this is a good
Yes.
length for a podcast conversation. I'm going to post this both on Substack and on my YouTube channel. What I want to
Mhm.
say is this, Claudia, like we offer this as a space for people to like listen to the way we talk, right? As friends who
Mm.
started out like collaborating from like the
Yep.
business and sound healing perspective and just became like
Right.
tried and true soul sister friends, right?
Yep.
Like
Absolutely. Yes.
I can tell you in the words of the Swedish, I'll do my best here, Greg. Jag älskar dig. Jag älskar dig. I love you. Like as family, as like an older sister, but not necessarily older, just like as like a heart space that I would trust anyone with. Like I wear these
Oh, okay.
shells. They come from Hawaii, where I grew up. I grew up saying
Mm,
Hawaii. A lot of people still say that, but like if you know the actual Hawaiian language, you say
yeah,
Hawaii. And
yeah.
what matters is not so much like perfection as honoring the ancestors and the culture. So like when I
Yeah.
went back to Hawaii as a tourist, I was actually Kama'aina because I knew so much about the space and I had grown up there. But I felt like a foreigner when I was there as a child. And a lot of that was because I was in adolescence and childhood. I'm trying to figure out who I was. When I came back, God, to Queen, I had left at 14, went back in 2022. So I was 41. Like it had been a long time
Wow.
since I had walked those
Wow.
sandy beaches. So when I say I'm a
Wow.
Hawaii girl, there's a lot of Hawaii in me, but some of my
Mm,
family's like, really? Like, do you really? And I'm like, yeah, I think it's because I danced on those sands and I sang and I
yeah.
stayed in touch with some of those friends. Like,
Yeah.
that is where so much of my spirit lies. So, like, I
Hmm.
wear this necklace because it brings me a little Hawaii on a cold transitional day in Boston where there's going to be
Beautiful.
perilous bicycle riding conditions and I'm on my bicycle, which is like, locked up out on a snowbank.
Yeah.
Tell me, why do you wear your necklace?
Yeah, I'm very intentional about necklaces. I've actually gotten into very deeply into gemstones over the years. I also wear bracelets, for instance, and I'm
I
very
sometimes say
intentional
so.
with one.
Hmm.
So this one, for instance, has all the different chakras stones,
Uh-huh.
and this is rose quartz here, which is the heart, which is a heart stone, and then pink tourmaline, which is also a heart stone. Pink is a heart color, and then this is howlite, which just helps to ground me a little bit. It's a white and gray stone, and so I changed them out. I have a ton of them. My necklace in particular is representative of both the heart with the moonstone and the business with the lapis. So the two
Oh,
of
I
them
love that.
together are, yeah,
That's
are a combination then
beautiful.
of both of those energies.
That's so good.
Yeah,
It's like talismanic, but also like almost prophetic to me, like that you bring those all of these symbolic but also energetically loving pieces together.
yeah,
So cool. Now,
yeah.
we're going to wrap up shortly. What is something that you wanted to make sure you said in this conversation that you haven't said yet? And we're going to make sure like you give like your socials, but we'll put that in notes and stuff too. Like if people
Okay.
want to find you on your website, blah, 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 like you can give that now because some people will just listen. So give that because we're getting towards the wrap it up stage. And it'll also be in the notes for both platforms where we cross process.
I appreciate you asking that because I actually thought of this at the very beginning. I'm like, wow, hopefully she asked me that. So one of the things I would like to say is would like to, if my daughters ever hear this, that I would like to send my love to them, Rebecca and Jacqueline. They are the loves of my life.
Oh,
And yeah, I will always love them with all my heart. And
oh,
that's it. So
it's beautiful. I
yeah,
love that you can name your daughters as part of the conversation and that they're the
yeah.
loves of your life. Tell me about and like you're gonna make me cry just the way you said that was so beautiful. But do tell
I
us, like,
don't
where
like
do we find you on, what is your website? Like, if people want to work with you individually, or like you and I may end up doing like a Zoom or an in-person group in New Hampshire or Boston at some point. Like, how do people
it.
find you specifically, though? Say, I want to have a conversation with you about their business or some other aspect of their life.
Great. Well, they can email me at Claudia at Haniel, which is HANIEL consulting.com, or they can text me. If they don't want to email, text works very well. No calls, please. At 281-222-3529. And my website is Haniel, which is again is HANIEL consulting.com. I can
Beautiful.
find out everything I do.
I love that. Claudia, I will always think of you when I see robins now, which is going to be both problematic and splendid because this is the robins are starting to show up. They look hopeful. Oh,
Yeah.
there's a little
Yeah.
dog across the cafe. It must be like using its little carrier. That feels magical too. A little dog. Tell me, Claudia, do
Uh,
you have a favorite song about robins?
do I? Oh gosh. No, not that comes to mind. No, I mean, one of the songs that I was watching something about the Judds um, the last couple of nights, and one of the songs that is rolling in my mind is "Love Can Build a Bridge," and I just love that because
Okay.
love is the answer for everything. Goal is love.
Yeah, I
Love
love that.
yourself.
That's so
So
beautiful.
yeah,
Okay. I want to bring up the energy of a wonderful Montessorian named Allison Evans, who at a Montessori school that no longer technically exists, Stonebridge Montessori. She now runs her own like smaller Montessori school somewhere in Massachusetts. I don't want to name the town because it may have moved, and I don't want to embarrass myself. But she taught me an old jazz standard years ago called I don't remember what it's called, but it just goes, "When the red, red robin comes bob, bob, bobbing along, there'll be no more
mhm,
sobbing when he starts singing his old sweet songs." Anyway, there's more. I won't sing it right now because it's not technically spring
okay,
yet, but we're getting there. I feel it coming. And I feel that this fire horse will
yeah,
crush certain aspects of the snake energy, but that there will still be beautiful snake healing energy for those of us who are in major transition. Can I offer you a blessing?
absolutely. I would love
May
that.
love evolve you, your daughters, your friends, your chosen family, and everyone who is in your shared space, whether energetically or like just, your roommate who I've met. May you have the great love and healing that this next year and this next chapter has already prepared for you.
Wow, very beautiful. Thank you.
Thank you. And now, like, later, I'm going to have you text me your favorite version of the song you named because I'm like, I always love hearing. That's one
Okay,
that there's several versions of. Can I finish with a joke? My
totally.
joke
Yeah.
this year, because I'm in Valentine's energy, needing to neutrally clear out some old stuff and welcome in some space for the new. I've been joking with people that this year is my year of down with love, up with glove, partly because I'm good at finding lost gloves and like taking them. And as long as I can gently clean them, like using them for other things. But also, I've sometimes found like good pairs of actual like two gloves together and like cool things that I'm like, I'm glad I have this. I'll wash it or not even wash it because I can tell someone just dropped it. And like, I get very excited about finding lost things. But also because Michael Jackson has some of our greatest music of all time, and he famously wore one glove and
Yeah.
did incredible healing
Awesome.
work while also having a confusing legacy for a lot of young men. Now, we know confusion comes with the territory when you are a big superstar persona like Michael Jackson. You have a lot of other family members who are also incredible. Can you tell me to finish our conversation one song by anyone in the Jackson family or, Jackson 5 proper or anything that upvotes this energy? It doesn't even have to be a Jackson song. Up down with love, romantic transition, like up with glove, up with careful, loving, silly something. What is it for you?
Wow. You know, it's funny. One of my older daughter used to ask me the question, Mom, what's your favorite song? And I'd be like, I don't know. I have so many. Like I couldn't think of one. And I think that's it.
Yeah,
It's
yeah.
like it's so overwhelming. You can't think of necessarily one. There's so many that are so
Yeah,
great.
yeah.
You
Yeah.
know, so yeah, I can't. I can't think of one, sorry.
That's good. I love
We're
that. I
just
love that.
all
I
coming
love
in
that.
at one time.
Well, because you are Haniel Consulting, and Haniel, I know has a story that I'm sure is on your website. So I'll let people look up the story. But L means God in many traditions, but it also is
Mm.
like a masculine gendered thing. So I'm gonna get silly here and say the one that's coming to mind for me is "Man in the Mirror." It was one of my favorite Michael Jackson songs back when it came out. I think in the '90s, maybe the
Yeah,
'80s.
that's a great song.
Yeah,
Great
yeah. So
song.
I'm
Very
gonna be
cute.
silly here for you, and I'm going to say, I'm looking at the Danielle Consulting in the mirror. And just to say, all of us can look in the mirror and want to change things. Not all of us have the kind of loving energy to do it, even when it's
Mm.
hard. May those of us
We
who
do
have
have
the
the capacity.
courage, we have the capacity. May we build capacity, right? All of
Yeah,
us in the days to come. All right. Hard stop was noon. It's
excellent.
11:59. To you,
Excellent.
to good
All right.
lighting,
Cheers.
and to your next meeting. Thank you, Claudia. Bye.
Thanks. Thanks, Hannah. Love you.
Yeah.
Talk to you soon.